China's economic progress, ladies and gentlemen, has been characterized by rapid industrialization, urbanization, and export-oriented growth. In the past decade and a half alone, China has been the main driver of world's economic growth, accounting for 35% of global nominal GDP growth. China has transformed from primarily an agrarian society to a global manufacturing hub, fueling its remarkable economic expansion. In recent years, China has also been investing significantly in achieving more sustainable and initiative-driven growth. Looking ahead, China's growth prospects remain strong and promising. Economic momentum initiatives like Made in China 2025, GDI, and helping to initiating the proposal towards the value-added chain by providing advanced manufacturing and technological innovations. Furthermore, China's BRI continues to present significant opportunities for economic expansion, with domestically and internationally. Ladies and gentlemen, with these brief remarks, I would like to first of all request Professor Zhao Rong to speak on adoption of new quality productive forces to meet requirements of high quality development in China. Okay, I'm sorry, I would invite Ambassador Jiang Zairong for his remarks. Thank you. Okay. No, you can stand there or you can speak from there, so it's your choice.
可能很难调，没事。或者是给我一个话筒吧。这样也可以，可以，没问题。把这个往下拿一拿就行。OK， 好了。尊敬的基拉尼外长，萨利姆主席，哈克大使，尊敬的拉麦主任，马利克教授，当然还有我们这个在北京的我们人大重阳金融学院的周荣教授，一会儿他会参与进来。女士们、先生们。
His Excellency Ambassador Jilani, His Excellency President Ambassador Salim, and His Excellency Ambassador Haq, dear Mr. Ramey, Professor Malik, and also dear Professor Zhou Rong from Beijing, who are joining us today online. Good morning.
非常高兴能出席今天的这样一个研讨。那么刚才看到我们吉拉尼外长，觉得很亲切，还有我们哈克大使，也因为在我刚刚到任的时候，这个主要是他们两位在我还对情况还不熟悉的情况之下，给了我这个很大的帮助，让我很顺利的度过了上任的这个前期比较艰难的时刻。
I'm very pleased to attend the seminar today, and I'm also very gratifying to see the former Foreign Minister Ambassador Jilani and the former Ambassador to China, Ambassador Haq. And you have provided me very great support when I first assumed my position in Pakistan in the difficult time.
那么在他们的帮助之下，我到任时间不长，就非常顺利的这个安排了 安排了这个当时的看守政府的总理卡卡尔总理，他去出席第3届“一带一路”国际合作高峰论坛。在那次行程当中，习近平主席啊同他举行的会见，李强总理也同他举行的会谈，而且双方签署了很重要的合作文件。那么同时也发表了联合的新闻声明，也体现了访问的重要的成果。
With your great support, I have successfully arranged the visit of the former Prime Minister Kakar to attend the Third Belt and Road Forum on International Cooperation in Beijing. And President Xi Jinping and Premier Li Qiang all met with His Excellency Mr. Kakar, and we have signed very important agreement and issued the press statement. And these are all very important outcomes.
那么我刚才跟吉拉尼外长在贵宾室我们在交流的时候，我也告诉他呀，直到现在，当时那段时间，我们一起为了这场这个访问而进行准备工作，一些点点滴滴啊，到现在都依然历历在目。所以要借这个机会，要特意的表达对他们2位的崇高的敬意和衷心的感谢。
Just now when I was talking with His Excellency Mr. Jilani in the holding room, I told him that the days and nights that we were together for this visit is also very vivid, still very vivid in my memory. And I would like to take this opportunity to extend my great thanks and my gratitude to two of these ambassadors.
那当然，我想我们每一位在座的都是这个中巴关系的，既是见证者，那么也是参与者，所以我们也要对每一位这个巴基斯坦的朋友为中巴关系所做的重要的贡献表示崇高的敬意。
I believe everyone in this seminar today has been a witness and also a contributor to our bilateral relations, and I would also like to pay tribute to all of them.
特别是在现在，我们进入了一个新的时期。那么从巴基斯坦来讲，这个新政府已经开始顺利的施政。那么大选刚刚成功举行的时候，这个在选出新一届领导人的重要的时刻，习近平主席在第一时间就分别向这个扎尔达里总统和夏巴兹总理发了贺电，李强总理也向夏巴兹总理发了贺电。这个两国，这2位领导人啊，扎尔达里总统和夏巴兹总理也都这个复信啊，表示感谢。同时，双方啊也就推进新时期双边关系发展，表达了美好的愿望，达成了重要的共识。那么，为我们下一步啊进一步推进中巴全天候战略合作指明了方向，提供了遵循。
Now we are entering a new era. The Pakistani new government is going on very smoothly. When Pakistan successfully held the election, President Xi Jinping sent his congratulatory message to President Zardari and Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. And Premier Li Qiang also sent his congratulatory letter to Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. And the two leaders, the President Zardari and the Prime Minister, also replied their messages. And they all expressed the best wishes for our bilateral relations and also reached great important consensus on our relations, and which provide a guideline for our cooperation in the future.
那么为落实好啊这些最高层的重要的共识，两国外交当局现在已经开始了密集的接触。那么在我们现在正在这儿研讨的时候，这个王毅同志他应该现在正和达尔副总理在吃饭，因为他上午这个我们中共中央政治局常委、国务院副总理丁薛祥同志刚刚会见了达尔副总理兼外长。那么在这之后，王毅同志啊同达尔先生举行了中巴第5次的外长战略对话。后来应该还有会见记者，会见记者完了以后，王毅同志会宴请他。那么现在我想这些日程正在进行当中。
So we will further implement the important consensus reached by the two leaders of the two countries. And after that, the two countries has been engaged with each other very closely. Just as we are discussing the seminar today, the Deputy Prime Minister, actually the Foreign Minister, His Excellency Wang Yi, is having lunch with the Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister, Mr. Dar, in Beijing at the moment. And in the morning, Mr. Dar has met with the Deputy Prime Minister, Mr. Ding Xuexiang of China in the morning, and we had the fifth strategic dialogue between the two foreign ministers in the morning, and they also hold a press conference after that, and now they are having lunch. So as we are discussing today, all these important interactions is going on in Beijing.
那么刚才我讲的，这就一些非常重要的政治互动。那么在政治上的互动，我想一方面体现了中巴关系的高水平，那么同时啊，也为我们今天要探讨的主题，这个经贸上的合作，或者说中国发展的新机遇，怎么样进一步的惠及巴基斯坦，提供了重要的指引。
So these are all very important political engagement between our two countries and fully demonstrate the high level of our two countries' bilateral relations. And it also provides the principle for what we are discussing today, that is the economic interaction of the two countries and how we can provide Pakistan with the opportunity with China's development.
那么当然谈到中国的发展，我想也要衷心的感谢刚才这个吉拉尼外长，还有我们的萨利姆主席对中国推动高质量发展取得的重要的成就给予的积极的评价。
When talking about the development, I would like to thank His Excellency Ambassador Jilani and President Ambassador Salim for the good remarks of China's development.
所以借这个机会，我想啊，我也愿意做一些简要的介绍。大家都知道，今年是我们中华人民共和国成立75周年，那么同时啊，也是我们实现我们“十四五”规划，也就是我们第14个5年发展规划目标任务的关键的一年。
I would like to take this opportunity to briefly introduce China's economy and development. So this year marks the 75th anniversary of the founding of People's Republic of China, and is also a critical year for achieving the goals and tasks of the fourth five-year plan.
那么面对这个新一轮的科技革命和产业变革，我们坚持中国式现代化道路，全面推动高质量发展，加快发展新质生产力。
Facing a new wave of technological revolution and industrial transformation, we adhere to the path of Chinese-style modernization, comprehensively promote high-quality development, accelerate the development of new quality productive forces.
那么谈到新质生产力啊，因为现在这是个热词，在我们国内也好，在国际舆论上也好，大家都很关注。这个当然，我也要做一点解释。我们发展新质生产力啊，并不是说就不要传统的产业了。那我们主要的是聚焦在这么几个方面。那么第一，还是要这个改造升级传统的产业。你比如说我们的纺织、我们的化工，是吧？第二，我们要培育壮大新兴的产业。这些新兴的产业现在可能是个重点，大家也都注意到了，像现在的这些新能源产业，啊，电动汽车呀、锂电池啊等等吧。那么第三个，我们是要超前的布局和建设未来产业。那么所谓未来产业，现在世界上的定义啊也不太一致。那么对我们来讲，你比如说这个深海、太空，再比如说现在很多人，包括我自己都还闹不太懂的这个脑机接口啊，这恐怕都是属于我们要提前布局的和建设的未来的产业。我们通过这样的努力，就是要不断的完善呀我们现代的产业体系。
So when talking about new quality productive forces, everyone knows that it has become a buzzword both in China and in the international arena. And I would like to explain this word a little bit. So this word means we would transform and upgrade the traditional industry, including the textile and chemical industries. And second, we would cultivate and strengthen the emerging industries such as the new energy vehicles and lithium batteries. And third, we would like to lay out the construction of future-oriented industries. And the definition might be different according to different countries, but in our China's definition, it means the industries related to deep sea and to the aerospace and other AI medical industries. And our goal is to achieve a series of new developments.
那么，在习近平主席提出的发展新质生产力这样一个重要的理念，它的引领之下，今年以来啊，从去年开始，那么中国的经济又取得了新的长足的发展。
With the guideline of development of new quality productive forces, and we have made very outstanding progress in our economy.
我举几个简单的例子，是吧？你比如说我们叫中国外贸的新三样，是吧？就是新的我们出口比较多的3种产品，就是电动汽车、锂电池、太阳能电池这3样。那么去年呀，它的出口额折合成美元达到了1460亿美元。那么我们还有我们叫中国新的3大产业，就刚才讲的也是这个新兴产业。那么当然包括我们的生物医药，那么人工智能，还有像量子技术纳米技术这样的新的产业，那么它的产能达到了550亿美元，这是一个不小的数字。另外第3个就是我们推动这个实体经济和这个信息技术和数字经济它们融合的发展。这个从现在这个趋势来看，到这个2027年。大概能够形成大约1.57万亿美元的这样一个规模。
I would like to give you a few examples. In 2023, the exports of China's new trio, which is electric vehicles, lithium batteries, and photovoltaic products, experienced a significant surge, surpassing $146 billion. Second, the 3 major emerging industries are booming, such as the biomedicine, artificial intelligence, and nanotechnology applications. And by the year 2023, the annual output value exceeds $55 billion. Thirdly, the integrated development of the digital economy and real economy is expected to reach $15.7 trillion in 2027.
那么去年以来取得的这些新的发展，应该说为今年我们经济实现良好的开局打下了坚实的基础。那么大家也知道，我们已经发布了数字，今年第1季度中国的GDP 是同比增长了5.3%。
Last year's development laid a solid foundation for this year's good start. As you may know, in the first quarter, China's GDP grew by 5.3% year on year.
那么这个5.3%，它的内涵非常的丰富也没有时间再展开来讲。我给大家举几个例子吧，也是，因为我们现在强调我们经济工作的总基调，我们叫稳中求进。那么在这个稳中求进当中，稳应该说去年它的发展也表明就今年1季度它的发展也表明就稳的这个基础更加的巩固。你比如说我们的工业和服务业这2大支柱的产业，那么分别同比增长了6%和5%。那么再比如说这个我们从进来讲，进的态势更加的明显。我们的新能源汽车，那么它第1季度它的这个增长同比分别达到了28.2%和31.8%，也就是产增加28.2%，就是销售增加了31.8%。
And the main principle of China's economy is to maintain progress while ensuring stability. So first, the stability has been further consolidated, with industries and service industries growing by 6% and 5% respectively year on year. Second, the trend of progress has become more obvious, with new energy vehicle production and sales increasing by 28.2% and 31.8% respectively.
那么，当然，我觉得我们更感到高兴的是，这个我们的外贸，去年啊曾经一度出现了负增长。那么今年前4个月，我们的货物贸易它的进出口同比增长了5.7%，这确确实实的不容易。那么更让我们感到高兴的是，在这个5.7%的增长当中，我们的进口比出口又高出了2个百分点。
What is particularly gratifying is that the import and exports of good trade increased by 5.7% year-on-year in the first 4 months, and the growth rate of imports are nearly 2 percentage points higher than that of exports.
那么进口高于出口的增长，说明什么呢？说明中国既在卖全球，也还在买全球。也就是我们要以中国发展的这种新的进步，来为世界带来新的机遇。那么在这当中，当然我们最希望的还是首先给我们的铁杆朋友巴基斯坦带来新的机遇。
You may notice that the imports has outnumbered the exports. This shows that China not only sell goods to the world, but also buy from the world. And we are providing more opportunities to the world with China's development. The most importantly is we will benefit our ironclad friend Pakistan.
那么谈到巴基斯坦，我们也非常高兴的看到啊，今年是巴基斯坦新政府施政的元年。那么同时啊，也是我们兄弟的巴基斯坦人民开创国家发展新局面的重要的一年。
When talk about Pakistan, this year also marks the first year of Pakistan's new government and an important year for the brotherly Pakistani people to open a new prospect in national development.
那么我们注意到，这个巴基斯坦政府啊，正在推进这个5亿发展框架。那么这个5个亿，我想首先它还是这个高度的贴近巴基斯坦进入新发展阶段的这样的新的发展需求。那么同时啊，也和我们以新质生产力推动高质量发展的这样一种方向高度的契合。那么这样就为我们这个推动啊，以中巴经济走廊为主框架的双边的务实合作，提供了一个很好的结合点。
We have also noticed that the Pakistani government has put forward the 5 E's framework. We believe this framework not only meets Pakistan's current development needs, but also coincides with China's approach of promoting high-quality development through new quality productive forces, which indicates that our pragmatic bilateral cooperation under CPEC will yield more fruitful results.
那么在座的我们都是走廊建设的参与者，尤其是我们吉拉尼外长，他还这个亲自的签署了这个有关建设走廊的文件。那么我们的哈克大使在任内也全力以赴的推进走廊的建设。我们回顾走廊建设的第1阶段，应该说呀，除了像重大的交通基础设施这样一些建设以外，其实我们在像可再生能源这样的新的产业领域，我们也已经实现了早期收获。
When talk about CPEC, I know all of you here are closely involved in the construction of CPEC, especially His Excellency Ambassador Jilani has signed the agreement by himself, and the Ambassador Haq has been actively promote the CPEC. When looking back the achievements of the CPEC Phase 1, we find that we not only have harvest in the infrastructure sector, but also have made great accomplishments in the new industries such as the renewable energies.
你比如说，现在我们已经同巴方啊一起建设了这个4座风力，那么1座光伏，2座这个水力的发电站，那么同时啊，我们还有6座水电站正在建设。
Up till now, China has helped Pakistan build 4 wind farms, one hydropower plant, and 2 solar power stations, with 6 more hydropower stations under construction.
那么再比如说，我们中国企业啊，在巴基斯坦搞了一个叫水牛胚胎的实验室，它的产能啊，年产能能够达到3万枚。那么这个也是前沿技术。那么再有我们的中国企业在巴基斯坦推广应用叫油菜籽收割机。那么这个收割机啊，它能够把采收的损失从40%降到8%。
I will also give you a few examples. The Chinese company has established a buffalo embryo laboratory in Pakistan, and the annual production capacity is about 30,000 embryos, and it has empowered the agricultural cooperation between our 2 countries. And the Chinese company also promoted the rapeseed harvester in Pakistan, which could reduce the harvest loss from 40% to 8%.
那么，大家也都知道，在最近巴基斯坦社会上热议的一件事情，就是你们的立方星啊，随着我们嫦娥6号任务上了月球，在5月10号，首次的传回了我们向巴方啊移交了立方星的数据。那么这在一定程度上也说明我们的在新领域的新产业领域这种合作呀，在不断的拓展啊，已经有了那么在太空领域交流合作的这样的新的实践。
And recently, news has been aroused great attention in Pakistan. That is, China's Chang'e mission has bring Pakistan's iCube satellite to the space. And on May the 10th, China has handed over the data of Pakistan's satellite from Chang'e mission to Pakistan and launching a new practice in aerospace cooperation between the 2 countries.
那么我想，当然，我们现在已经进入了走廊建设的第2阶段。那么在第2阶段，我们最重要的，我们还是要落实好这个2国高层领导达成的一些重要的共识。我们继续以中国的新发展为中巴合作注入新的动力。这其中一个重要的措施，我想我们就是要推动5C 和5E 深度的对接。那么5E 是巴方的发展框架，5C 就是双方商定的，或者说主要是中方提出的、推进的这个增长、民生、创新、绿色、开放这5大走廊。通过这样的一些措施我们来加快的构建中巴命运共同体。
Looking forward to CPEC Phase 2, we are ready to work with Pakistani side to further implement the important consensus reached by the leaders of the 2 countries, inject new impetus to our cooperation with China's new development, and promote the in-depth integration of 5 Cs with 5 Es. The 5 Cs is put by China, that is the 5 corridors, namely the growth corridor, livelihood enhancing corridor, innovation corridor, green corridor, and open corridor, and to build an even closer China-Pakistan community with a shared future in the new era.
那么中巴的合作我们当然离不开国际的大环境。那么总体上，国际的环境对我们的推进合作、深化合作是有利的。但是呢，我们也注意到，这个在当前的形势之下还是出现了一些这个单边主义、保护主义的这样的逆流。
Our bilateral cooperation cannot leave the safe and sound international environment, but we find that there have been some protectionism in the international arena.
这个今年大家也都知道，因为巴基斯坦朋友我觉得你们的国际眼光也非常的广，是吧？就很关注国际上的事情。那么今年是美国的，是我们叫世界第1大经济体，是吧？世界第一大经济体的它的大选年。那么这个国家很奇怪，那么一到大选年，就会把国内的一些事情、国内的一些矛盾就会往外转嫁，而且就会炒作别的国家的事情，甚至是这个炮制一些这个子虚乌有的一些经济的话题。
This year is also the election year for the largest economy, and this country is very interesting. Every time when they hold the election, they would like to maliciously create some fake news to divert their domestic issues. and they might even hype some international issues of other countries.
那么在炮制啊，所谓的中国经济崩溃论、中国经济见顶论，是吧？最后都没有成功之后，今年以来啊，又在这个起劲儿的在炮制所谓的中国产能过剩论，而且矛头直指刚才我讲到的中国的新能源行业。
So after hyping to no avail, China's economic collapse theory and China's economic peak theory, this year they concocted the so-called China's overcapacity theory, and the focus is on the new energy industries of China.
那么事实究竟是什么？借这个机会，我想我们也愿意跟巴基斯坦朋友啊，我们分享几个基本的真相吧。那么第一个，中国不存在产能过剩的问题，我们更没有输出过剩产能。
I would like to take this opportunity to share with all of you a few facts and realities. First, China does not have the problem of overcapacity, let alone exporting the excess production capacity to the outside world.
那么总体来讲，所谓的产能过剩，那就涉及到你的产能的利用率。那么我们现在啊，就去年啊，到去年为止，我们的工业产能的利用率在逐季度的在回升。4个季度依次的是74.3%、74.5%、74.6%、74.9%，而且美国最关注的我们的汽车行业、汽车制造业，它的产能利用率已经迈向了80%的这样一个高水平。
In the year 2023, China's industrial capacity utilization rate rebound quarter by quarter, reaching 74.3%, 75.5%, 75.6%, and 75.9% respectively, and the automobile manufacturing capacity utilization rate moved towards the threshold of 80%.
那么至于说到输出过剩产能，我们本来也没有过剩产能，但是我还是要告诉大家的是，我们这个生产的新能源产品主要还是满足国内的需求，对外的出口量很小。2023年，你比如说我们的新能源汽车，它的出口只占我们生产量产量的12.7%。
When talking about the overcapacity and the excess production capacity to the outside world, China's new energy products are mainly supplied to the domestic market, and few are exported to the world. For example, in 2023, the export volume of new energy vehicle only account about 12.7% of production.
而且这里头，去年我们对美国的这个新能源汽车的出口只有1.3万辆，只占我们出口量0.82%。我们的光伏的产品去年对美国的出口，这个只占我们出口量的0.1%。所以如果说这样的一个量，那么美国都觉得对它是一种伤害，对它是冲击，那恐怕这个国家也太脆弱了，这个市场也太脆弱了。
China exported only about 13,000 vehicles to United States last year, and this only accounts for 0.82% of our export volume. And China's photovoltaic products exported to Pakistan only accounts about 0.1% of our export volume. So if this small amount of exports would harm the US, then the country is too fragile.
那么第二个真相，我想告诉大家的是，我们中国的新能源产业啊，它的这个产业优势，我们主要靠我们自己的努力，也就是我们有14亿人口的超大的市场，是吧？我们有全世界最全的工业的门类，那么我们有丰富的人力资源，而且我们对研发进行了大量的投入。
Actually, the competitive advantage of China's new energy industry is rooted in China. such as our 1.4 billion population, we have the ultra large scale markets and the most complete industrial system in the world. And we have abundant human resources and huge investment in research and development.
那么这个有人说啊，这有些政客讲说我们这个搞低价倾销，我们搞补贴来这个推动不公平的竞争。我们中国在欧洲新能源汽车呀，它的价格是国内的2倍，所以哪个地方能看出来是低价倾销呢？当然我们更没有通过所谓的补贴来寻求竞争的优势。
Some politicians in Western countries says China is dumping goods to other countries, but the fact is that the new energy vehicle sold in Europe is 2 times the price of China's China's market. So we never sold those products at a lower price, and we don't rely on any subsidies.
但是我们看到的是，美欧啊在搞补贴。你比如说，美国在2022年，它专门通过了一个法案。那么这个法案规定，这个美国呀，这个购买美国本土生产的新能源汽车，这些消费者，政府会给予最高7500美元的叫这个税收的抵免。而且这个法案还规定，对于光伏企业，那么政府会给予生产制造的补贴。
But on the contrary, we saw that the United States and some European countries, they are doing something. The United States passed a bill in 2022 to provide tax credits of up to $7,500 for the purchase of local produced new energy vehicles and provide production and manufacturing subsidies for the photovoltaic companies.
而且再说欧洲，欧委会在2020年3月到2022年底这期间通过了庞大的补贴计划。那么这个补贴计划涉及到的补贴金额达到了3.8万亿欧元。那么仅其中对电池项目这一项的补贴，它的金额就达到了6亿欧元。所以说这个是谁在搞补贴，谁在通过补贴来搞不公平的竞争，一目了然。
From March 2020 to the end of 2022, the subsidy plan approved by the European Commission involved a total amount of up to 3.8 trillion euros. And the subsidy amounted for the battery projects alone is as high as 600 million euros. It is clear who is using subsidies to engage in unfair competitions.
那么第3个事实，我想跟大家分享的是，中国的新能源产品的出口，应该说惠及了全世界，为应对气候变化，为推动全球经济的绿色转型做出了重要的贡献。
The third fact is that China's new energy products exports benefit the world and make important contributions to addressing the climate change and promoting green transformation.
那么2023年，去年，我们出口了120.3万辆新能源的汽车，应该说引领了全球汽车行业转型，成为引领全球汽车行业转型的一支重要的力量。
In 2023, China exported 1.2 million new energy vehicles, becoming an important force leading the transformation of global automobile industry.
那么还是2023年，全球可再生能源新增的这个装机容量是5.1亿千瓦。那么这里头，中国贡献了一半，50%。
And in the year 2023, the world's newly installed renewable energy capacity is 510 million kilowatts, with China contributing more than a half.
那么我们中国的这些风电、光伏设备产品已经出口到了200多个国家和地区， 这个总计啊为这些地方这个降碳是吧？总计相当于同期全球可再生能源折算碳减排量的41%。
And China's wind power and photovoltaic products are exported to more than 200 countries and regions. And the total emission reduction for other countries accounted for approximately 41% of the global carbon emission reductions converted from renewable energies in the same period.
我想这里头我们尤其感到高兴的是，因为我们的产品既有这个技术优势，同时它也有成本优势，有价格优势，所以为我们这广大的发展中国家兄弟们这个提供了既这个清洁可靠又用得起的能源。我想现在没有一个发展中国家来说中国这样的做法不好，所以说呀，公道自在人心。
We are very proud that China not only has a technology advantage and also have price advantage in the new energy sectors. So it has helped developing countries to obtain clean, reliable, and affordable energy. I believe no developing countries will blame China for that, and we believe justice lies in the heart of the people.
这个其实啊，美国还有欧洲的一些国家，他们也并不是不知道中国的新能源产业对全世界是有利的，无非就是他们现在不愿意看到啊，他们自己这个在这些行业啊正在逐渐的失去他们的优势。这个我想恐怕还真是要靠公平的竞争，在全球化的这样的趋势之下，那么合作共赢比零和博弈更好。
I believe both the European and the US, they know about all these facts, but they don't want to see that they are lagging behind in these sectors. We believe just competition is very important for the economic globalization, and the win-win cooperation is better than the zero-sum game.
那么这个其实现在啊，在气候变化越来越严峻的这样一种形势之下，各国家都希望要使用新能源产品，来能够实现这个经济的绿色转型。这个应该说啊是大势所趋。那么据国际能源署它的统计，到2030年，这个全球的新能源汽车它的需求量将是2022年的4.5倍，而光伏产品啊，也就是太阳能发电这些光伏的设备，它的需求量将是2022年的4倍。所以说这些优质的产能啊，这个不是过剩了，而是不足。
In recent years, the global climate change situation has become even worse. The demand for new energy products has become more urgent. According to the estimates by the International Energy Agency, the global demand for new energy vehicles in 2030 will be 4.5 times than that of 2022, and the demand for new photovoltaic installed capacity will be 4 times that of 2022. So from the perspective of global market demand and the future potentials, China's new energy production capacity is not surplus, but insufficient.
那么如果说有真正的产能过剩，那可能就是这些国家呀，这些政客，这个出于本国国内政治的需要，那么也基于啊他们的这个零和博弈的思维啊，冷战的思维，针对中国制造的假消息、假新闻、假叙事过剩了。
I believe the real overcapacity is the surplus of fake news, disinformation, and fallacies concocted by certain countries against China out of their own domestic political needs and the zero-sum mentality and Cold War mentality.
这种做法呀，其实它还是打着这所谓的反对产能过剩的旗号，在搞贸易保护主义。这个大家也都知道，这个拜登政府昨天刚刚宣布了新一轮的对中国加征301关税，那么其中将这个电动汽车这一项关税从25%提高到了100%。
So this act is actually practicing trade protectionism in the disguise of opposing overcapacity. As you may know, the Biden administration yesterday has passed a new bill that is to raise the tax of China's new energy vehicles from 35% to 100%.
像刚才我讲的，我们去年对美国的新能源汽车的出口只有1.3万辆，它加征关税对1.3万辆汽车加征关税有什么意义？
As I have mentioned, last year our export to the U.S. is only 13,000 vehicles, so the raise of the tax has no points.
所以说呀，这个美国它这样的做法，它不可能达到说想把中国绊倒，它自己跑得更快的这样的目的。但是我们必须高度警惕的是，美国它这样的做法，最后啊可能就会破坏全球的产业链、供应链的这个稳定和畅通，阻碍啊全球经济的绿色转型，尤其是对发展中国家实现经济复苏，就会这个产生重要的破坏的作用。所以像中国也好，巴基斯坦也好，我们这些发展中国家，我们是靠自己的努力，靠同其他国家开展这个互利的共赢的合作，我们来实现自己的发展。那么面对美国这样的新的挑战呀，恐怕我们确确实实的有必要认清楚它的本质和事实，我们共同的来携手的应对。
I believe tripping the U.S. aim is to trip China up, but tripping China up will not make them run even faster, but will only undermine the stability and smoothness of the global industrial and supply chains and hinder the green transformation of global economy, and will pose new challenges to countries around the world, especially developing countries, in promoting economic recovery. Developing countries, including China and Pakistan, will rely on our own efforts and mutually beneficial cooperation, and we seek development and revitalization. We must stay alert and work together to respond to these acts.
那么当然，作为我们两国从双边来讲，我们是全天候的战略合作伙伴；从多边来讲，我们都是国际社会当中啊维护公平正义的这样的一支坚定的力量。所以啊，我们这个下一步啊，愿意同我们的巴基斯坦朋友一道，我们继续的倡导普惠包容的经济全球化，我们来呼应啊这个国际社会，特别是广大发展中国家的普遍的诉求。我们共同的来做大，并且公平的分好全球化的蛋糕。
China and Pakistan are all-weather strategic cooperative partners and are the backbone of the international community in safeguarding fairness and justice and promoting development and progress. China is ready to work with friends from Pakistan to advocate universally beneficial and inclusive economic globalization, comply with the common aspiration of countries around the world, especially developing countries, work together to make the cake of economic globalization bigger and fairly share it, and resolutely oppose unilateralism and protectionism.
那当然，我们要坚决的反对单边主义、保护主义，是吧？这个我们要共同的、坚定的去支持这个贸易投资的这个便利化、自由化，啊，我们共同的推动啊，这个整个世界走向合作共赢、共同发展的这样一个美好的前景。
We should work together to firmly promote the trade and investment liberalization and facilitation, and achieve mutual benefits, win-win results, and common prosperity for the world.
这个我讲的太多了，耽误大家太多的时间。那么最后还是要这个祝我们希拉尼外长，祝我们萨利姆主席、哈克大使，还有我们在座的各位朋友身体健康，也工作顺利。祝中巴友谊万古长青。
I'm sorry for taking up too much of your time. At last, I would like to wish His Excellency Ambassador Jilani, Ambassador Salim, and Ambassador Haq, and everyone here present today all the best in the future. And Jimba Dosti Zindabad.
那当然，我也很期待能够跟大家进行交流，特别是一会儿我们这个周荣同志他还要这个有一个演讲。那么他是我们搞南亚方向研究的很著名的学者，人大重阳嘛是我们重要的智库。这个，所以我相信啊，他的很多的这个看法呀，都这个对我本人啊，对我们可能都会很有启发性。这个，但可惜的是。这个因为大家众所周知的原因，我可能不能在这里待很长的时间，因为确实后头还有很多的，还有几个日程，这个也希望大家能够理解。
And I really looking forward to discuss with all of you today, especially listen to the Professor Zhou Rong's speech. He is a very distinguished expert in the South Asia studies, and his institute is a very important think tank in China. And I believe he will bring many important insights to all of you here. But unfortunately, because of the work that maybe you have all known, that I have to leave here earlier today for some important engagement.
那么当然，我也非常的期待来一会儿哈克大使还有这个马利克教授，他们都会发表重要的这个演讲。但是我们会有在这儿把这些重要的内容整理出来，回去以后我慢慢的学习。当然，还有吉拉尼外长最后的总结。
I'm also looking forward to Ambassador Haq, Professor Malik, and Mr. Ramey's speech, and also the important conclusion of His Excellency Mr. Jilani's remarks. But unfortunately, I could not join today. But we will ask our colleagues here to take all the notes down and learn from all of you.
谢谢大家。
Thank you.
Ambassador Zhao, I think for your keynote address, I fully endorse your views that the negative narrative about China's economic collapse, economic slowdown, overcapacity issues, they are utterly false. And there are some very important points that I would like to mention in order to endorse what the ambassador has said. Firstly, China's 4,000 years old civilization is going through a natural process of progress and rejuvenation. The Chinese people have experienced in the past a painful history, and they have learned their lessons. According to a Harvard University study, Chinese are one of the happiest, contented, and optimistic people. They have seen the best 5 decades of human development in the economic, social, and military domains. They have become, because of the hard work demonstrated by the people of China, China has become an economic powerhouse and aims to become a formidable military power by 2045. Am I right, Mr. Ambassador? Secondly, China has lifted more than 600 million people out of poverty in the last maybe 2 decades. And accordingly, the Chinese people trust their leadership and the Chinese Communist Party. And their support, again, according to the same study that I am talking about, the Harvard University study, their support has to the Chinese leadership and Communist Party of China has grown to almost 95%. Chinese are driven by a deep sense of nationalism and profound desire to serve their own country. Every year, 130 to 140 million Chinese, they travel outside. and not a single Chinese would stay out of China. They would all come back. Similarly, hundreds and thousands of Chinese students, they are pursuing studies in the United States of America, Europe, Australia, and many other countries, and they all come back to serve their own country. Ladies and gentlemen, one very important factor to ensure China's economic, technological, and military growth is the Chinese investment in research and development. The Chinese investment in research and development has grown over the years and has now surpassed every country in the world. So any country that would invest in research and development will take the lead in terms of not only economic development, but technological development and development in all spheres. China has now unrivaled potential to bring innovation to market faster than any other country. So this is again something which is, which China is a country which can be singled out. China also has a good image internationally. Its influence is growing, not only in Africa, South Asia, Middle East, West Asia, Latin America, and almost around the globe. And one example of this growing influence and the confidence in the economic development of China is that now more and more countries are joining Belt and Road Initiative. And this is something that we saw it firsthand when we visited China recently for the 10th anniversary of the Belt and Road Initiative. In the past decade and a half alone, China has been the main driver of world's economic growth, accounting for 35% of global GDP growth. So these are some very, very important factors. And one anecdote that I would like to mention, that I was serving as High Commissioner of Pakistan to Australia when there was there was a global financial crisis in 2008. And the Australian Prime Minister, he left for China for a couple of days. And after his return, he came back and he invited all the Canberra-based ambassadors for dinner. And during the question answer session, when he was asked for the reasons for his visit to China in the face of this global financial crisis, he said that since our economy is not dependent on the Chinese economy, I wanted to check with the Chinese leadership if the global financial crisis has also affected negatively the Chinese economy. And the answer from the Chinese leadership was, no, we are not affected by the global financial crisis. And when we heard these views, the Australian Prime Minister said, we thought we are also safe because our economy is very, very close to being too. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is, we are grateful to Ambassador Jiang Zhaidong for his keynote address. And now I would request Professor Zhao Rong, Senior Fellow for Financial Study of Chongyang Institute of Renmin University, China. He will speak on the adoption of new quality productive forces to meet requirements of high quality development in China. And he will be speaking to us via Zoom. Thank you.
Hello.
Since the ambassador has to leave for another important commitment, so
Hmm.
he was presented with a memento by the president of.
Okay.
Okay. Professor Zhao Rong to continue with this.
Yes.
Thank
Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay, good. Okay, let me speak. And thank you so much for Mr. Romay, Shakir Romay, to invite me to this important conference. And frankly speaking, I have to cancel another important meeting with Hungarian ministers of Chinese embassy because for this conference very important. And it was the first time for me to listen to Ambassador Jiang's speech since he became Ambassador Long. And also here I would like to show my great tribute, pay my great tribute to Ambassador Ha, who was ambassador during the last 3 years. I met him many times, and His Excellency invited me many times to the embassy, and also Foreign Minister Mr. Gilani, who accompanied the Prime Minister Kakar, been to China just early of this year. I was lucky and honorable enough to be invited as a Chinese scholar to attend the scholars meeting, a dialogue meeting with Prime Minister. So I was very happy, and I stayed in Pakistan for last 10.5 years. I mean, from 2003 to 2014. And I was also honored to attend twice the cabinet meeting of Punjabi province. At that time, our current Prime Minister, Shahbaz Sharif, was the chief minister of that province. And also right now, I'm still the major writer of the Chinese business briefing, Huashang Bao, the only Pakistan official Chinese newspaper published. I'm the chief writer, and every week, and if any friends in Pakistan understand the Chinese language, you can see my article each week, and from 2018 till now. So right now, I would like to say something more about the as Ramey just asked me to say something about the CPEC, the development concept of all the others. First, we all know that the President Xi Jinping initiated CPEC with our Pakistani leaders, which has already 11 years history. And also, not only I myself, but also the Chinese people, Chinese government sincerely hope Pakistan become a strong, powerful, safe, and prosperous country. And still, after now, no matter what kind of international way, China and the Chinese people are doing their best to help Pakistani people to earn a prosperous, sustainable, and wealthy life. And I think Ambassador Jiang had mentioned something about new quality productivity. I think my understanding is appear to mean leveraging scientific and technology innovation to turbocharge economic productivity. That is the meaning of that. May not be very accurate, but that is President Xi Jinping recently just took this kind of statement many times. And yes, here, because I met a lot of delegation from Pakistan in China, and even recently, your former foreign minister also came to China for a special visit with some of the old ambassadors and all the high commissioners and all scholars. And here I would like to stress some important things through this kind of conference. What do our Pakistani friends need to learn from China? I think first is the concept of development, innovation, invention, and creativeness. But the precondition should be the country should maintain stable and safe. We have Taiwan issue, which has not unified with mainland. You also have the Kashmir issue, which have not been solved yet. But our great economy should not be negatively influenced by this. And the Chinese momentum is dynamic. China has invented its own green car or new energy car being sold in European countries. Pakistani friends, I think, may understand why Chinese enterprises and engineers can do on innovation one after another. What drives them to do so? I suppose the policy made by Chinese policymakers are in favor of innovation. So Pakistan has an economic problem and science and technology problem. But for the last 11 years, China is the only country who assists the people of Pakistan with determination, sustainability, and sincerity. But unfortunately, China's help to Pakistan has not done enough. Or we can say we are unable to solve all the problems, I mean, economic and scientific problem of Pakistan. But China is doing its best. Let me just talk some pragmatic suggestion. Number one is a joint venture. I think that is a lot of image ambassadors and our Pakistan embassy Also, Pakistan's Ministry of Commerce always invited a lot of Chinese enterprises, entrepreneurs who used to have the experiences in Pakistan to be the ambassador, I mean, a civilian ambassador, and to encourage the Chinese small and middle levels in enterprises to invest in Pakistan. Yes, what we can do is to encourage them, but the entrepreneurs and the enterprises, they have to come here themselves. They will see whether Pakistan's investment environment will be in favor of their investment. So for this case, I suppose we should do it from the very beginning, primitive step. That is to say, where we can do what we can do to establish some small, not too much, not too big, small joint venture to be the test, to be the model, to see what we can do and where we can do and when we can do. The second is the industrial zone. And all the Chinese SME, if all the Chinese MSE enjoy their stay in Pakistan, and I suppose we should accumulate the successful experiences, use a successful experience to encourage, to advise more Chinese small and middle levels enterprises to be confident enough, to be determined enough to come to Pakistan for investment. Number three is join the university community. Since we know we have the coalition of the university between Pakistan and China, but what about the function? What kind of what we say, the productive fruit has come out? We do not know. Nobody just calculate. Yeah, there's a lot of coalition, corridor established, all going to be established. But is this the good time for us to do some phases summary for these 3 months? What we have done, what we need to do the next 3 months, something like that. Not only just like our friends like to say higher than Himalayan mountain, deeper than Indian Ocean, sweeter than honey. This is not for pragmatic use. The pragmatic use says whenever we try to learn from each other, we have to summarize what we have learned for the last 3 months, especially applying technology. I think that this ambassador said is correct, but my opinion is let's do more pragmatic. What I mean pragmatic, what Pakistani need, what Pakistan can learn. This is a very important thing. Number 4 is hatchery base. Is it possible for Pakistani government and provincial government respectively input more on innovation and encourage the joint venture of China-Pakistan for innovation of application technology to join cultivate available and usable talent, This is very important. Now you cannot see how you graduate from some university in China or something about that. Yeah, this is useful, but that's only brand and title. What is important, whether he will be the specialist on certain kind of area of the industry. This is very important. Number 5, the big data and the AI industry. I think we should begin an experimental unit. Maybe one is enough to test the water, but not to wade in it. To test the water, but not wade in it. Number 6 is the new corporation satellite. I think I'm very, very confident that there will be the day that the Chinese space station will have the Pakistani spacemen and the Chinese state spacemen together working there. And maybe in the future, there will be the China-Pakistan jointly space station. Okay. Nobody cheer for that. Okay, number 7 is to have the concrete available plan to gradually update Pakistan traditional industry with new equipment and new talents. Okay, let me just give a few words of conclusion. I think the cooperation between China and Pakistan on science and technology on some new area should just be stable, but not so fast. So as I mentioned just now, every month, if possible, and I think Mr. Romay and some other dear scholar brothers invite some scholars or ex-officials who just came back from visiting China to have a special talk on their trip, and each time around a theme, and learn from China, not a slogan, but a day-by-day progressive project. So I really agree that the growth corridor, people's livelihood corridor, innovation corridor, and the green corridor, open corridor are really very suitable for current CPEC. So Pakistan and also Mr. Jiang, Ambassador Jiang mentioned one thing. I would like to stress here, China-Pakistan relations are not aimed at or should not be affected by the third countries, whoever the country it is. So I really have the dream, making Pakistan the safest country in the world. Not only China, but all of the world like to invest in Pakistan. You will have your own charm and attractiveness. But the last sentence is Chinese language study has already established here and there. And my slogan is not only learn Chinese language, but to learn Chinese language well until the perfect way. Then there should be a lot of Chinese language speakers from Pakistan to match all weather friendship. And thank you so much for Romay. Thank you so much for organizer. Thank you so much for all the listeners. Thank you. I have to stop here. And thank you for your sharing your precious time with me.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Zhao Rong, for your very apt recommendations to further solidify Pakistan-China relations. And we entirely agree with you that China-Pakistan relations should not be affected by third countries. Now, I would request Ambassador Moinul Haq for his remarks. He will be speaking on China's transformation of economy to high-quality development.
Thank you, sir. Ambassador Jalil Abbas Jilani, Ambassador George Salim, President IRS, my co-panelists, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and ni hao. First of all, I would like to thank Ambassador George Salim. First of all, congratulations on taking up this very important assignment of the present IRS, and good wishes for your success. And thank you for organizing this very important seminar on a very topical subject. I thank Ambassador Jilani, pay tribute to him for being one of the earliest architects of China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, China-Pakistan friendship, and that is able watch. This friendship has grown from strength to strength. Thank you, sir. And I would also like to thank Ambassador Jiang for his his keynote speech, his recent article, which was published in the Nations. Together, what he said in his speech, I think, has given us the details of China's development paradigm and the philosophy behind the new policy of the new quality productive forces. Please convey our thanks to Ambassador Jiang for his very valuable efforts, which he's doing as the ambassador here in Pakistan, and further developing our very key relationship with China. Thank you, Professor Joe. Good to see you, my friend. Of course, we had many interactions together. And thank you for your kind words. And you have been very frank in your views. And certainly, as Ambassador Jalil said, that you had made very important recommendations for taking forward CPEC. I acknowledge here in the audience Dr. Tarak, who was the Director Program at Pakistan Foreign Service Academy. This building used to be the Foreign Service Academy. I was telling Ambassador Johor Salim that perhaps I'm visiting this place after 35 years. Sir, you have been very kind. You have been our teacher. And what we have achieved under Ben, so it is, you have great credit to you, goes to you. I have a great honor of serving in China for 3 years and 3 months. And I have seen firsthand the economic rise of China or economic development of China. To tell you honestly, the scale and magnitude of China's economic development is mind-boggling. You cannot appreciate it by sitting outside China. You have to visit China to see it with your own eyes. Seeing is believing. Ambassador Jilani has given some of the very important statistics about China. Let me tell you also, share with you some of my thoughts, what I learned in China, what I studied about China during my interactions, during my visits across China. I took the opportunity to go out of Beijing. I visited more than 50 cities in China. So I have seen it firsthand. So let me share something with you in terms of what we are talking today. From year one to 1980s, China has been the predominant global economic power. It was only from 1845 to 1949, which they call in China the century of humiliation, the foreign aggression, the occupation, the conflicts, that China was suffering. But after the birth of New China in 1949, a national plan for rejuvenation was launched under the leadership of the Chinese Communist Party. And since the opening up and reform policy of President Deng Xiaoping in the late 70s and early 80s, China has grown at an average of 9% in 4 decades, 40 years. This is unprecedented in human history. And today, I think it was mentioned that China's GDP has now reached from 191 billion in 1980 to today's $18.5 trillion, a rise of 100 times. So in comparison, Pakistan's GDP rose only 15 times to current 370 billion in this period. China today has the largest foreign exchange reserves of $3.3 trillion. They are adding almost $500 million to their reserve every day. It is the largest trading country with largest trading partner of over 120 countries, including Pakistan. Global trade of $6.8 trillion, exports of $3.7 trillion, number one in global exports. What it means that they are exporting $10 billion worth goods every day. Just look at the figures, $10 billion every day. That means that in 3 days, they export what we export in 1 year. So, as you mentioned, sir, they are the Belt and Road Initiative partners of over 150 countries. That shows its global influence and outreach. And in this quest for economic development, China has benefited from its linkages and partnerships with the Western countries and companies in terms of course, exports, in terms of tax revenue, and in terms of getting new technologies. There are over 1 million foreign companies which are registered in Chinese mainland. Boeing, the giant US aircraft manufacturer, 21% of Boeing's revenues come from China. They have sold over 2,000 airplanes to China so far. General Motors, China accounts for 42% of its sales. Tesla, everybody knows about Tesla. 50% of Tesla's global exports comes from only one manufacturing plant of Tesla based in Shanghai. Apple, 95% of Apple's iPhones and iPads are made in China, are manufactured in China. So from factory of the world to the manufacturing hub of the world, China has now transitioned into a high quality development mode with innovation, research and development as the basis and as the core of its economic policy framework. So you have mentioned about the focus of China on R&D. Let me give you some figures. Of course, Chinese R&D budget has been increasing every year, and today it stands at $450 billion. It's about 2.5% of China's GDP. It is equal to the combined R&D budget of Japan, France, Germany, and South Korea. It has surpassed United States in terms of patents, in terms of publications, scientific publications, and industrial designs. I have been visiting many companies in China, hundreds of them, and wherever I have been in the briefing, when you go there, they first give you the briefing and history about their company. They will very proudly tell you about their focus on R&D. What is their budget? How many human resource is dedicated on R&D? I was recently, sir, in Guangzhou last year and visited BYD. BYD is China's or world's largest now electric vehicle manufacturing company. BYD means beyond your dreams. In BYD, I saw a huge wall, 10 meter, maybe 50 meters long, and with patents, designs hanging on the walls, 1,000 of them. And that they were showing it proudly, the research and R&D that the company has done. And this is a story with all the Chinese companies. So why investment in R&D and innovation is necessary? Of course, we all know the benefits. It's terms of, it brings efficiency in the system. It saves cost and time and increase productivity. And just imagine that if we switch to smart metering in our country, smart grids in our country, how much line losses, electricity losses that we suffer, we can save that. If we switch to smart irrigation, Pakistan is already a water-stressed country. How much water that we can save, and the productivity level of agriculture can increase by transforming into using new technologies. Pakistan is affected by climate change, so green development, green innovation can help a country like Pakistan. So how can we benefit? I'm very happy to learn that Ms. Professor Joe was mentioning that we should not be, of course, looking at the semantics and the higher than the mountains. That's important, Professor Joe, because this emotional attachment of the two people is very important. We should pass it on to our new generations also. But I agree with you that we need to be pragmatic. So how can we benefit? Pakistan and China has done a lot. Hundreds and hundreds of MOUs and agreements have been signed, and dozens of them for scientific cooperation, R&D. We need to implement them with earnest. We need to follow up them. Our system has too much inertia. We need to move forward. Time is of essence. We don't have the luxury of time. So if we need to benefit from what China has achieved next door, and as a partner, they are willing to help us, we have to help ourselves also. So we need to follow up and do a practical implementation of these. CPEC framework is very important. We already have 2 working groups on science and technology and IT cooperation. We need to use these platforms to take benefit from the opportunities that we have. We have so many projects that are there on the paper. They need to be done, implemented. Ambassador Jiang and Professor Zhou also talked about the CPEC phase 2, which is very important. IT is an area which has been identified as the core area of cooperation. And then we have spoken about 5 corridors. These corridors are, number 1, innovation, of course, about science and technology and R&D, green development, growth, industrialization, agriculture, all comes under this. Livelihood, this is socio-economic development, poverty alleviation, and openness involving third country and third party participation. We need to operationalize these concepts with practical approach, with practical projects. We have been talking a lot about setting up a China-Pakistan Tech and Innovation Park. Time has come that we should set up. The blueprints are there, the ideas are there, policy framework has to be implemented, which has been announced in many years. So we need to go in. Again, I would repeat that we need to move forward very, very fast, because if we miss the boat, somebody else will get on it. And finally, I think this is the key. We have been talking about Pakistan's youth dividend, that our young and youth are tech savvy, they are computer literate, but we need to train them. We need to guide them and develop their skills for the new skills, new technologies which have been emerging in the world. We need to their capacity building, invest in education, increase our R&D budget, have this culture of R&D within ourselves, within our institutions, and within our ministries. Of course, this year's China is celebrating its 75th year anniversary, independence anniversary. We wish China very well. This year is very important for China-Pakistan friendly relations. A new government is in place in Pakistan. Last week, Planning Minister, Mr. Ahsan Iqbal, was in Beijing. At this moment, Foreign Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, and Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar is in China, and we hope that there will be a high-level delegation to China very soon. So we hope that these high-level exchanges will bring a new momentum to these very important relationship, economic partnership, and help us in energizing and implementing the consensus that we have reached through our leadership. So I thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ambassador Moin Haq. You are absolutely spot on when you mentioned that we need to implement the hundreds of MOUs that have been signed between China and Pakistan, and they are very, very important MOUs. Besides, we were in Beijing about 3 months ago, Prime Minister Kakar and myself, and we had a very good meeting with President Xi. And the first remarks made by President Xi were that it is extremely important because he mentioned that China and Pakistan are iron brothers. And accordingly, China would like to see Pakistan emerging as a prosperous and economically stable country. But at the same time, he also mentioned that for economic stability, prosperity of our people, it is extremely important that we must have political stability in the country. And political stability is a critical factor to achieve the kind of economic growth that we are talking about. And besides political stability, we also need to have internal security, because internal security is also key to economic development. And these are some very, very important points which were mentioned during our discussions there. Now I would request Mr. Shakil Ahmed Rame, CEO, Asian Institute of ECO Civilization Research and Development, for his remarks.
Thank you, Ambassador Jilani, and thank you all the speakers who have spoken already. So I had a presentation, but I think I will not take much time because we are already very late, and I don't want to be the hurdle between food and you. So I will be very quick. We are talking about China new quality productive forces. We're talking about high quality development. First of all, let's be very clear. These are not a random thoughts, are the political slogan, are the dream selling like what happened in Pakistan. So every 5 years we come up with some new slogan. We will change the Pakistan, we will make the Lahore, Paris, we will make that thing. So these are not these thoughts. These are very articulated, and it's a result of the hard work of the leadership. President Xi Jinping started concrete work in 2015 when he launched Made in China policy. Look at the investment on R&D, look at technology development, look at the policy framework, look at step-by-step increment. Then he came up with the idea of new philosophy of the development. Then he came up with the idea of China New Era. Then we talk about high quality development. It depends on 4 capitals: physical, natural, social, and economic capital. Then today we talk about new quality product forces. And it is all about high technology, high quality, and high efficiency. So this is not like a random thought. This is very, very, you can say, well thought policy of China, which China has prepared. So now coming to the where we can benefit. There are 2 things we can do. Number 1, we need to sort out the situation and try to be try for inclusion in the supply chain. We don't have very well established supply chain in Pakistan. What are our global brands? Rice, sports goods. In manufacturing, can you tell me what are our global brands? Any global brand in manufacturing, which is Pakistani? We are looking as a ठेकेदार्स. Look at the footballs. There are world-class footballs, but we are selling them and preparing them somebody else. We don't want to be part of the supply chain where our logo should be there. So it will take time. That's we say what we can compete at the globally. So we need to be very conscious when we claim. Okay, what we are saying, we have this global brand, how they are competing in the global market. So we can talk to you when you say that we have the fashion products, which fashion products we have. Sir, I'm talking about the big picture of manufacturing, the making the brands. So where we don't go for these few actresses who gave us good words and we say we celebrated. That is the problem of this country's system. For example, when Ambassador Moinul Haq was saying we have hundreds of hundreds of MOUs, but we are not making them functional. Who is responsible? Bureaucracy. Later on, they become the physical consultants, but the real work is there. Who is not making those MOUs? It's my responsibility to make those MOUs functional. No, I'm outsider. One thing, second thing, how we can move forward? That is a fundamental question. So first is supply chain inclusion. Can we make a vehicle, or a laptop, or mobile? We talk about digitalization. Digitalization is not about to use the internet. It's a hardware. There is a real competition. But we are talking about internet, that is where digitalization. Do we have data? Leave alone the big data. We have basic data where we can make the policies. We have our population census after so many years. One thing and second thing, we need to learn the Chinese system, how they work. What is a governance system? Merit, people-centric, and inclusive. What is their reforms? If you look at the China, they define reforms. The first step is to enhance production. And second step is opening. What we do, we first sign the opening, then after that, what happened to our industry? Then industry will not compete the global brands. I gave you one example from the maize, corn. So our local seed was excellent. We opened the market, ICI and other companies took over. Because our local brand could not compete them and don't have the resources to compete them. And then the merit is very important. So who can do the work? The third thing is skills. Ambassador Moinul Haq was talking about the skills. So these are very important. But when we negotiate or implement or develop a policy, we don't trust the skills. We trust the seat. Who is where? If you look at a negotiation at the global level, or the economic diplomacy at the global level, Dr. Salim Johar Saab was part of the climate change negotiations. Look, other countries' delegations. How many experts are in their delegation who are not the government servants? So we need to be very systematic, learn, and implement. Where should be our starting point in China? Xinjiang. Xinjiang is transforming right now. They have the most active, a vibrant free trade zone. Right now, Xinjiang is the node of the Golden Channel. So where China will be connecting with the world. Our products can go there, our businessmen can go there. And then we can become the supply chain part. Joint ventures from Xinjiang to Pakistan. In CPEC industrialization, if everything is so fine, as Salim Saab was talking about from the audience, if everything is so fine, why after 13 years we are still unable to have a function and we could not start the special economic zone fully? Where is our industrialization? Where is our agriculture cooperation? You can talk to me and you want to convince me. It has no use because what is your duty to do? The things should be at the ground level. I want to talk more, but I think the time is short. We can talk at some other places. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Shakil Sahab, for your excellent suggestions and remarks. And now I would request our last speaker, Dr. Ahmed Ejaz Malik. He is a member of the faculty member of School of Politics and International Relations, Quaid-e-Azam University, and he will be speaking on the importance of China's high-quality development model for the global economy and BRI partners. The floor is yours.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you, Ambassador Rame. Can you all hear me? Ambassador, sorry, I mixed up your name. And IRS for inviting me to speak on this topic. I am going to focus on the way we are seeing the developmental model till now, and specifically focusing on three areas, which are industrialized, agrarian reform, then banking and marketing and financing reforms, and defense technological reforms. The reason I'm going to very simply explain these is that this modern high quality innovation that we're talking about today has occurred in all of these three areas. And the nature of this high quality innovation is employment of artificial intelligence more so. In comparison to United States, China's ability to apply that to all of these domains has been relatively at a greater pace because of the fact that China's system is such that once they are able to agree on a state policy, then they are, in a very systematic manner, able to apply those. While the United States is a very significant competitor to China in AI, but the degree to which it can apply these AI new technologies to all of those areas, which very basically I mentioned, the three areas, is not as at a higher pace compared to China. If we look at how China has, since 1978, gone through economic transformation, agrarian, economic, and industrial transformation, it has shown a very systematic inward approach of transforming their industrial infrastructure to relatively microeconomic reform and stabilization and absolute transformation. I've been doing some work on this, and this I wrote sometime in 2018 that this is something that Pakistan should be looking for when we are looking at CPEC unfolding, us getting money from them, they setting up various projects here, systematically suggesting that it should not necessarily be solely seen as a Chinese project. The Chinese have come, they've invested, and they're going to make profits and give us our share. No, it has to be us emulating that model to a certain degree as well. So microeconomic stability, obviously, I tried to show that looking at Pakistan's case, we perhaps cannot take that transformation that China did from a Maoist model to a very open liberal marketized structure now. Many people argue that it's capitalism with Chinese characteristics, but obviously China will not go out and say that we are a very capitalist state. It will be absolutely denying this whole history of Maoist hinge on their structure and ideology and economy. But in fact, it is quite close to that. We were looking at that time in 2018 onwards, how China had very systematically given incentives to small producers and traders to corporatize. The state gave subsidies to those. Not exactly in that manner, but Pakistan could have followed that model. Since China rose to a member of WTO, it very systematically started getting foreign direct investment, and that was in very systematic manner able to become the base for it acquiring new funds to transform further their infrastructure from, like I said, simple basic cottage industrial base to relatively high developmental industrial base and producing commodities to be sold in different types of markets all across the world. So we see various types of commodities that China produces. So simply we see Pakistan and developing countries still struggling with ability to produce commodities for their domestic consumption, which could produce some amount of surplus to be reinvested back there, or minimizing their dependence on import. So import substitution doesn't work that much. Export-led industrialization, so agreement on standards of origin or standards of destination for trade and exportable commodities. China gave a very different model to that. So we're seeing the creation of a very systematic institution such as the sovereign wealth funds. A very clear manner in which they develop their own model of industrial, monetary, financial, and banking-based system development, the dual embeddedness, as it is called, as an economic model. So we see a very systematic spin-off to spillover effect in all of these areas, converging, producing for their domestic consumption, reinvesting, and producing different types of commodities to target different markets. So China doesn't produce only the commodities we find in Pakistani market. They produce very good quality commodities for the United States, for Europe, for Middle East, for Africa, Latin America, what have you. So we're seeing that diversification occurring because of the fact that they focused and transformed their domestic infrastructure. One of the other factors of them engaging with US and acquiring this foreign direct investment and very systematically creating sovereign wealth funds was to utilize their money to buy globally traded shares and bonds and funds. And trading in those, and obviously, United States had a very good standing of dollar in the beginning, from the time China got to a WTO. And it was a very good systematic reciprocal manner where United States benefit, China benefit with the goodwill of dollar. And once we see 2008, a recession in United States, China brought in all of that money to, in some ways, bail some of the banks out. I'm not saying this is what we expect in CPAC, but at the very least, we can see some kind of a structure of sovereign wealth institutions created in Pakistan as well. Obviously, the problem occurs, what can we produce as what they have as shares and bonds and funds? So Islamic banking is focusing on creating sukuk bonds, interest-based funds, and a non-interest-based fund, and those can be done as well. So the other sector which I am looking at is how we're seeing the digitalization of the whole system. And another side of China's development, at a very high pace, a groundbreaking development in their defense technological structure. So we're seeing how China very clearly has developed a reverse production technology, how they've seen the same spill-off, the spin-over effect in their defense industrial base. And the other thing which we see is how China's acquisition of gold and it's being the greatest importer of oil has enabled it to raise the standard of its currency at the international level. So we very clearly saw on the one hand, this reverse technology of spin-off to spillover in their military industry, producing various kinds of weapons, technologies, drone, and all of those things, and very clearly connecting their currency with globally traded oil and acquiring as much gold as they can. So very clearly, we're seeing them producing something similar to what United States had seen as a factor which created dollar's hegemony since 1971. Petrodollar to be matched by Petro Yuan. So we're seeing how United States had seen this very strong competitor to its dollar's hegemony at the global level. This hasn't been their declared policy, but that's how China's discourse gradually has been evolving. They're not saying themselves as a very revisionist power which is going to challenge the existing order, which is going to challenge the pole at the moment and try to create a global order in its own image, although there is discourse on that as well. But we're seeing very systematically how there's an element of competition and cooperation and some element of, as we simply in economic terms would say, creation of a competitive advantage as well. So we're seeing Petro Yuan evolving as a very significant factor supporting China's defense innovation and the reverse in the technology that I talked about. So you're seeing with this conflict at Ukraine and China's confrontation with United States over Taiwan, a very clear stance that China has taken. From 2000 NMD, where there was talk about setting up interceptors in Alaska to counter any possible intercontinental ballistic missile from China. These are not the discourses anymore. You see how if it got to a point of conflict leading to escalation, China is very systematically in a pragmatic manner focusing more on keeping that option, but still focusing more on developing its economic, monetary, and military status by setting up very systematic allies with Russia, oil sold to Venezuela, Iran, and supporting its Petro Yuan as well. So how does Pakistan figure in? Pakistan is in all of these areas capable of benefiting with China and offering something to them as well. Pakistan can transform their domestic structure along the same lines of microeconomic development that China did. Pakistan can set up those monetary structures like sovereign wealth funds and not necessarily emulate the same model that China and US had. The equation where US supports China through WTO. They get foreign direct investment. They create for sovereign wealth funds. They bring about a domestic transformation of a very ground level industrial manner, and then use part of that saving, part of the added money in the form of foreign direct investment to buy globally traded shares and bonds and funds. But in the very basic manner, Pakistan can in some ways engage with China, like Ramesh was talking about, what do we have to sell to China? We've got a lot of things which are going to China, but they are not mechanized in the way that proper exporters should, and the way they would be bargainers and in the whole equation of trade. Similarly, we're looking at this reality that Pakistan has this tactical and strategic ability. Pakistan cannot absolutely deny those or forsake them or relinquish them. But China's ability to develop this reverse technology can be a manner in which Pakistan can be a collaborator and benefit strategically as well. So we're seeing this basic trend that United States' interest is more towards India compared to Pakistan. India appears to be a better market, and India appears to be following a model that United States held. So there's this huge building up of small arms factories and structures in India made as India, which is very clearly appearing as a kind of an offshore balancer for United States in the South Asian region. So it makes sense for Pakistan to ally and get support from China along the same lines that they have made a transition in their infrastructure, and in some ways see digitalization, artificial intelligence playing a role there. The last thing which I'd like to say is, perhaps not many would know that we have got Chinese students here as well. Two of our PhD candidates in our department are Chinese, Wang Zi and Zhang Guihong, and they're very close to completing their degrees. So we talk about Pakistan as being deficient in many, the long list of deficiencies which we have. But what is one of the very strong resource that we have at the moment, which China doesn't have, which is this huge youth bulk. And we're talking about not every youth, but youth who are enrolled in the university, who are studying. So when we talk about where should the Chinese entrepreneurs come and invest, they should ideally come to these places. There's room for defense technological training in NDU and NUST and other universities. There are IBA and LUMS for marketing and other financial training for students. Why can't students who will be getting their degree and spending many years running from pillar to post, trying to get a job and not getting a job during their degree, get internship from Chinese entrepreneurs, get training, work for them, get very minimally paid. So instead of paying to qualified people, they'd find students who'd be working, who'd be getting less paid, and they'll be prepared for China to then make them work. So when we talk about this new quality model, it's a lesser reliance on traditional labor and capital and currency. So what will be the newer form of labor then? They don't have to actually go and work in China on their entrepreneurs. They can sit here, and with all of these technological, internet-based and artificial intelligence-based liaisons, these are the resources that can actually work. We all talk about bureaucratic red tape and all of those things, but we're trying to see in these three areas how some kind of initiative can be taken. So this basically is what I see as, I can't possibly tell you a lot about artificial intelligence. I don't do that. I am working in political economy, theories, and strategies. So I'm going to stick to things that I know. And these are the three areas which I think are where we can see not necessarily a huge difference between less reliance on traditional capital and labor and raw material, but some kind of a balance. We've got something that China may need, and they've got something which will be useful for them to make profit exponentially if we may properly utilize those. Thank you. That's what I like.
Ladies and gentlemen, we had an excellent discourse by various speakers. Unfortunately, because we have already overshot the time that was given for this session. But I would request, I think we can ask 3 questions. So 3 questions from the floor. We can't take more than that because I know that there will be many questions. But again, due to the paucity of time, we take. So, yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. This is Professor Adar. Thank you very much for yet another very instructive discourse on economy. All the panelists have done a good job of what they have been asked to do, but my feeling is that if we want to learn from China, really what China did, we will have to go slightly beyond from where we start. We invariably start from 1978, Deng Xiaoping, economic reforms. But in my opinion, actually, although the results of those economic reforms are spectacular, nothing spectacular happened in the reforms. Something happened before those reforms, which we conveniently ignore. And I think that is very important to understand, if you allow me, because we have to understand the difference between cause and effect. We are working on effect. We are saying, okay, there's cancer, ignore the cancer, work on the pain, give tranquilizers and all that, and ignore the cancer, which is not happening. The problem is political, but somehow there is, I don't know, deliberate or something in the Pakistani elite or discourse is going on to ignore that and talk more of economy. And the more we talk about economy, the more we get confused, because that is not going to solve. Economy is only an effect, and this is very important to understand, of governance. And governance is an effect of politics. So we have to address the cause, and that is what China did. I mean, of all the people, Deng Xiaoping, he said we have to reform the political structure to be able to address the economic reform. So I think that is what we need to understand, that atmosphere, that enabling atmosphere that caused those economic reforms, we don't talk about that. The best of the economic reforms, that is first probably that broke through was Hukok, was the household contract and responsibility system that was given just by an 18 years old. But the thing is that environment had been created from probably 1973 to 1978. The area that we always miss, somehow for different reasons, the Chinese don't talk about that. And the Western, from where we get most of our intellect, don't talk about that for a different reason. So I think we need to address that, and probably that is for Ambassador Johar and for the youngsters. If we really want to address that, we need to talk about those initial reforms, political reforms, the restructuring in the political system, which enabled the economic reforms. We have been many Mahbubul Haqs, and we have all the Western effect experts. But I think that is where we are lacking, is governance, the politics. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yes, sir. Would request very brief questions because we have to close this session now.
Thank you. My name is Bilal. Just a few suggestions on the positive side for Pakistan. The problems are too many, we can't go into all that. It wastes a lot of time. I just want, because all of you are very experienced leaders and, diplomats here and everyone is there. I think just focus on what we have. We have tourism. We have great tourism sites in Pakistan. So 75 years have passed. there is no effective tourism policy. Look at Saudi Arabia, look at UAE, they're driving their economy from. Nobody has stopped us making an effective tourism policy. You don't need money for this. You just need effective team to sit down for 1 week and solve this. So focus on tourism, focus on mining industry. We have a lot of mineral resources. You name it, we have everything. We have silicon, we have copper, we have iron ore, we have pledged not to touch these deposits. I don't know for what reason. There's no policy, so the GDP is stuck at $350 billion plus minus 75 years. We are not going forward. We should be aiming at $1 trillion economy. This should be the target. And just fix these 2 or 3 sectors: agriculture, tourism, mining, digital side, just 4 or 5 sectors. Focus on it. Bring the best people in the world to develop policies, and give yourself a target of a month to finish all these policies. And then open Pakistan for everyone to invest. Don't just wait for China. Open everyone, whoever is coming to invest, they should get an ROI, and Pakistan should be open for everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there any question from any, rather than remarks or observations? Please.
जाफरी मेरा नाम है जी, मैं फॉर्मर DGFI currently founded in पाकिस्तान में. मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है, we all know what's happening. What is stimulating us? मुन्नू भाई ने कहा है औंधा नहीं करना पैंदा है, पीछे पीछे जाना पैंदा. All of us will have to burn our. My question is, what is stimulating us?
What is?
रोक क्या चीज रोक रही है? What is stimulating us? हमें सबको पता है क्या हो रहा है. हमें क्या चीज रोक रही? उसकी बात.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, with this we come to the end of our session. Would request the President to make the vote of, give his vote of thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ambassador Jilani Saab, for presiding this session on a very important topic. My thanks to the Chinese ambassador, the speaker that we had from China, Ambassador Moinul Haq, Professor Saab, Shakil Rami Saab, and all of you for coming here, for contributing so graciously. My special thanks to Ambassador Jilani, who, despite his very busy schedule, was able to make time for us today. This is and remains a very important topic. I think some of the comments that have been made subsequently as well underline that. Pakistan has a youth bulge, but that youth bulge, and that is very important because I have to mention that, I was recently having some conversations with European ambassadors, and we were sort of, saying that, okay, you're doing so well in this particular area and everything. And suddenly one ambassador said something very interesting. He said, Ambassador, we are the past. We are shrinking countries in terms of demographics. You are the future because you have this young population. You have a median age of 22. We have a median age of 47 going to 50. So that is the biggest asset of Pakistan. But this asset could very well become a liability, unfortunately, if we are not able to provide employment for our youth. And before that, if you're not able to educate them, if you're not able to skill them to enhance their skills, and if we are not able to give them a direction. And that is where we have so much to learn from China. As we all know, China is also facing this problem of aging population now. And in the coming years, they would need young people. And in these days that we have days of this IT technology, you don't really have to relocate to another country to work for them. You could work while sitting in your own country. As we know, this remote working concept is so popular these days and so prevalent. So I think there are immense opportunities there, as has been underlined by Ambassador Jilani, Ambassador Moin, Professor Saab, Shahil Rami Saab, and our worthy speakers from China, and the Chinese ambassador himself. The keenness is very much there in China. The will is there in Pakistan. What is missing is, of course, a strategy, and an implementation. I think we are in the process of building that sort of, consensus, building that strategy as well. But implementation would be the key. But I'm sure that such discourses, bringing all these fresh ideas, and this discourse in particular, which has brought in such luminaries in terms of the intellect and experience, and the fresh ideas that they have provided, this helps us when we synthesize this and send it to the policymakers as policy inputs. It always contributes to that. So thank you very much once again for all of you for being part of this worthy exercise. And now we could invite all of you to come and have simple lunch with us. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished panelists and dear participants for joining us today. So I request the panelists for a group photo. Please come together. So here. Please join us for lunch. For dignitaries, we have arranged lunch upstairs, and for other participants, we have lunch for you in the lobby. Thank you, everyone, once again.